Welcome back to the Tiga Tactics Podcast, a show about self-defense for civilians by civilians. We discuss all things personal protection, including martial arts, combat sports, and street combatives. Our resident MANs, martial arts nerds, include co-founder of Tiga Tactics and holder of black belts in 9 different styles, Dr. Conrad Bui.
Hello, everybody.
We do not have Patrick joining us for this episode, but I am the other co-host, retired Army Special Forces soldier and champion obstacle course racing athlete, Evan Ultra-OCR man Perperis. And today we're going to be talking about maximizing your martial arts seminar experiences. Before we get to that, though, quick word about Vulpes training products. Conrad, give me a couple of quick thoughts on Vulpes.
Hey, I've got their little knife. It could be even the size of a folder, and that's a great tool to train with, especially if you carry an EDC knife and you might use it for self-defense, personal protection. You've got to have one of those. So whether it's Vulpes or somebody else, but the Vulpes one I have, the handle fits really well, and like we've said before, this thing is indestructible.
Yeah. If anyone wants to check out me and Patrick doing a couple of Kali flow drills, you can head over to the Vulpes page. We're on there, as well as the Tiga Tactics page. All right, let's start talking about maximizing your martial arts seminar experience. Let's talk about, I guess we'll break it into 3 phases, like pre-seminar, during seminar, post-seminar, and give a couple of tips for each and, kind of what you do. So let's talk about, let's say I see a seminar that interests me, I sign up. What are some tips you could give our listeners that would be good to do maybe prior to the seminar?
The first thing I would do is figure out like what kind of seminar you want to go to.
Okay, so we're before I even signed up. All right.
Yeah. I mean, this is pre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking for something that's gonna test you, cause you to sweat, or are you looking for something that's in the middle ground somewhere where you're kind of moving but not sweating like crazy, maybe a little sweat, or are you looking for something that's more theoretical and minimum movement? There's all types for you. And if you're younger, maybe you want to go test yourself, a lot of pressure testing. It might even verge on the edge of dangerous. There's seminars for that. And yet if you want to do something like almost like Qigong, health related, minimum contact, minimum movement, there's seminars as well too. So I recommend you figure out what kind of seminar you're looking for. Of course, you probably understand there's a topic and you probably have a topic in mind, but the intensity level needs to be looked at. And one way you can look is to check out online. There's martial arts groups, or there's groups on Reddit that'll talk to you about how that seminar is usually ran and what you may expect. So that's something to research before you pull the trigger and pay for the seminar. What do you think about that, Evan?
Yeah, no, absolutely great advice. Yeah, I know, Tiga Tactics, if you look on our social media and our YouTube page, you'll see some of the video from the actual seminars. Same thing with brands like ShivWorks, and then of a lot of other brands too, right? Like they use this video shot at their seminars for social media content. So that can kind of give you an idea of what to expect. I know I basically look for a topic that I'm interested in, and then kind of do a little bit of research about the brand. And if the brand is saying stuff that I agree with or want to know more about, and then from there I kind of try to find one that's convenient, either something local that I don't have to get a hotel for,
right,
or maybe something where I have family or friends. That's what I've been doing for races. That's how I went to the first Tiga Tactics seminar in Maryland. That's where like my brother-in-law lives. So I try to combine my seminars with seeing people who I may not have seen in a while.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Price. There's seminars for $100, maybe even less, and there's seminars for several $100s as well too. And like what you said, we have to factor in the cost of travel as well as the cost for living expenses as well as food expense as well too.
Absolutely.
All right. And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Also, what type of seminar are you looking for as well too? So is it like specific focus, like maybe there's a knife seminar or a Filipino martial arts seminar or a grappling seminar, or there's seminars, what I call like a buffet of martial arts, where I just participated in one last weekend where there were, I think, 10 instructors, and there was everything from Kempo to Bagwazang to Silat to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to cane work as well too, using a cane for self-defense. Kung Fu, Shaolin Kung Fu was represented. Wing Chun Kung Fu was represented. So are you looking for something specific or looking for a buffet of things? And both of those types of seminars will give you different benefits as well too.
Yeah, the buffet one sounds very interesting. I guess I've never been to a pure seminar like that. That being said, when we went to Dragon Fest last year, they had essentially seminars running in the adjacent room, and that was very buffet-like.
Absolutely. There might be no rhyme or reason why all these arts are together, but it's definitely kind of cool to be able to. I think the buffet style, you get to sample a little of everything. And maybe you've never tried Kempo, and there's a Kempo teacher there and they're doing their Kempo stuff, and it'll give you a flavor of what they do. Or maybe you've never done Filipino martial arts and there's a Filipino martial arts instructor there. And so I think the buffet style, it's really for martial arts nerds as well too, like myself. I love the buffet style because I get to meet a bunch of teachers and I get to see what they teach as well as how they teach it. And so I'm a big fan of the buffet style, and I think for martial arts it does a lot to bring a camaraderie, respect to each other, because when you meet each other and you're sharing your art, there's a lot of respect that's earned and given at the same time.
Yeah, very good point. I know we were talking about recently. We're talking about people who fall into like a very niche topic and then don't socialize outside of it. Sometimes they can get false impressions about the way things are. They can get false impressions about other systems. They can become very closed-minded, and something like this really kind of opens up that aperture. And again, I think it exposes you to more similarities between martial artists than there are differences.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a nerd, I totally love the buffet style. And the only drawback with the buffet style might be that there's too much information.
Yeah.
You're hopping from Kempo to kickboxing, then hopping over to a judo, and then hopping over to this and that. And so I believe personally, anything you do in martial arts just enhances who you are as a athlete, as a practitioner, as a human being. So don't worry if it's too much information, because just anything you do makes it a good day. You know, you're active, you're going out there, you're learning. If you want to retain the information, you can bring a notebook or whatever, and we'll talk about that later. But it might be too much information. So if you do a focused type of seminar where there's maybe just one teacher or several teachers, but one art, for example, there might be less information and it's just more focused on that one art. So, but then it'll bring you deeper into that art as well, too. So, both has its advantages and drawbacks as well, too.
Do you want breadth or do you want depth? I guess that's the question there.
Right. Exactly.
So let's say you sign up for something. Do you do any like prep work before you go to a seminar, or you just go in blind and let the seminar kind of explain everything to you?
Yeah, just like what you said, do a little research. If you don't know who the instructor or instructors are, I kind of like to look them up and look at their background. That way, when I'm in class, I kind of know what to expect. Maybe like what you talked about too, check out some videos and see how they teach, or maybe you see the video and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is crazy stuff. I don't think I'll go to it. Yeah. So yeah, definitely do your homework, check it out, see what you're getting yourself into first. Well,
yeah.
What about you?
It depends on the topic, but like before I ever went to my first Tiga Tactics and before I went to ShivWorks, I took some of their online courses, some of your online courses as well. Mm-hmm. So I got familiar with the material initially, and then it really felt like when I went to the course, one, it allowed me to practice it in person, but two, it helped like refine the stuff I learned. So I feel like you'll be able to, because you already have essentially a framework of how things fit in, and then when you go to the seminar, it helps like fill in that framework of things, as opposed to you're trying to. If we go back to my competitor's blueprint analogy, if you don't pre-expose yourself to the information, you're trying to build a house and furnish the rooms at the same time. Versus if I explore a little bit online via podcasts, which are free, or YouTube videos, or pay for actual instructionals, then when I show up, essentially the structure of the house is built, and I'm at that point I'm furnishing rooms, and I feel like I retain the information a lot better. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I know for like when I did Marshall Blade Concepts, that for that one I went in blind. I just kind of like I just didn't do much research. I heard about it from some other people, and I just kind of showed up
Mm.
and just kind of winged it. And yeah, it was a lot of information, but luckily it was based in Filipino martial arts, so I was able to fall in pretty quickly and not feel like I was completely being left behind.
Yeah, and that'll work too. You know, if you don't feel like preparing like us in some of our seminars, and you just want to jump in, that I think a lot of people do that. They just sign up, they forget about it until Friday night, and they're like, okay,
Yeah,
let's start figuring out what's happening on Saturday morning, and that's okay too. That's totally
right.
okay.
Yeah, I've done both. I've done both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Same here. Same here. Guilty as charged.
All right.
Yeah. So
Any other
let's.
pre tip notes?
Yes, yes. Get good sleep the night before. You don't want to go
Good.
there like a zombie and, So get good sleep the night before. I also recommend getting there early because if you get there late, you might miss some important things and you already paid for it. Just get there early. That'll really help you maximize your time and your money. You also might have time to meet some of the participants or even the instructor. And maybe there's some gear that they're selling or some cool books like the combative blueprint
Boom.
that's
Good
on the
plug.
tables and stuff. You can look at those. And one last tip would be to, bring the gear that they ask you to bring. So
Yeah.
set everything out the night. What I do is I set everything out the night before, the gear, what I'm going to wear, my footwear as well too. I set all those out at night because, when I'm rushing in the morning, I forget things. So get your gear all together the night before. That way, when you're rushing out the door, you're good to go.
Absolutely. All good tips there. I also like to bring a little caffeine with me in case I start dragging my butt through the seminar. Give
Yes,
me a
yes.
little pickup there.
Absolutely. And this would go into the pre and during the seminar as well too, as well as the post is like what you were talking about. Water. Bring hydration with you. Bring some water because
Absolutely.
yeah, get plenty of water before and make sure you're sipping during. Anytime there's breaks, I go and I drink some water, whether I'm thirsty or not, because you're moving, you're probably sweating, whether you know it or not. Even from your exhalation, there's moisture coming out of your mouth and things like that. So go and get that water during your breaks as well too. And so get plenty of water after. And I also recommend this is kind of a pre thing, bring a notebook as well too, and we'll talk about that during and the post as well.
Yeah. So I would also agree with that, water and kind of maybe some snacks to kind of keep you keep that energy level up. When obviously in marathon running, it's a little bit different than going to a martial arts seminar. But we basically say that if you're thirsty or you're hungry, you're essentially already behind the power curve. So we
Yeah.
try to not chug water, but like in a marathon, like every time I see a water station, I'll drink a little bit, even if I'm not thirsty. And I
Right.
start my nutrition plan before I get hungry. That way I have that constant stream of energy to kind of make it through the race or seminar without having ups and down and crashing and then dying of thirst or whatever halfway through the event.
Right.
All right,
Absolutely.
so seminar starts. Talk to me about like what do you do? Are you a diligent note taker? Do you just take a couple of short notes? Do you do no notes and pay attention to the instructor? What's your technique?
Okay. What I like to do as far as notes go, I usually like to write my notes during the breaks, and
Mm.
I think a good teacher will give you breaks because everyone needs breaks. You know, whether it's to run to use the restroom or get that water. I like to go take my notes during the break. That being said, I like to socialize as well too, and get other people's perspective on things so that I can learn from their experience as well too. And so sometimes I don't get to the notebook as much as I want to, but that's usually when I try to hit the notebook. What about you? How do you do you take notes, or how do you remember these the certain details from the seminar?
I find that if I take notes during, I end up focusing on my notes and less on the technique, and then I don't feel like I absorb the technique as well. So kind of similar to you, I'll either use the breaks or I'll use it like after they teach a couple of things, I'll run back and like
Mm-hmm.
take a couple of very shorthand notes that will make sense to me that night, but it won't necessarily make sense to me in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just writing something to be able to jog my memory for later.
Right.
Because if I write it too detailed, like I said, I end up missing half of the demonstration because you're staring down at your paper writing instead of like paying attention to hand and foot position. You know, some instructors allow it. Sometimes I'll video, or if I see someone else's videoing, is
Yes.
what I usually do. I'll ask for a copy. So like I went to a Valor Ulysses, the very high level BJJ guy, did a De La Hiva seminar a couple weeks ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take notes, but I saw people in my class videotaping, and then afterwards I was like, "Hey, can you airdrop me those videos?" And so I got like a copy of his seminar essentially.
Oh yeah, I'm taking notes for BJJ techniques. That's probably one of the hardest things to do
So hard.
out of different martial arts. You know, it's something to say, you know, strike them in the nose here, block this, do this, step over here. But with BJJ, it's like if your notes aren't very clean, and this happens to me. Uh, I'll write some notes. I'll even draw some figures sometimes, and it's not that clear. I'll go back in a few months, and I'm looking at my notes thinking, what the hell is this?
Yeah. What is this? Yeah. I think it's important to pay attention to the instructor when they're doing the demonstrations because you'll pick up a lot of little nuance that you'll miss if you're overly focused on taking notes.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
What else you got for like middle during the seminar? Let's say it's a let's pretend for hypothetical this is a 2-day seminar.
Right. Well, I've got some general tips for
Yeah.
everyone. Uh, be playful, but don't be goofy. Right? Be friendly, be playful. Take it easy. It's just a seminar. I see some people that they're like hyper aggressive, hyper competitive, and they're trying to resist everything, or they're trying to do everything too hard. Relax. Take a
That's a
few
good tip.
deep breaths. Have some fun with it. You know, you're not in a life or death situation here. You're simply at a seminar. You know, take it easy, cowboy.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's a good one too. And it also to feel out the environment because I've been to some seminars, they want us to go a little harder, and some of them they want us to go a little easier. So like I would also say like feel off your partner on what
right.
they're comfortable doing and how hard they're comfortable going.
Right. And default to the lower level.
I
So
agree.
if
Yes.
you're with a partner who's like, just like moving really slow, moving really soft, go ahead and default to that level, with them. Don't take advantage of them or anything like that. You know, keep it playful, keep it fun. Don't be so competitive, and don't try too hard. You know, it's just a seminar.
Absolutely. What are the tips you got for our seminar attendees?
You know, that playfulness is important. Smile and introduce yourself to others as well too. I get it. We're at a martial arts seminar, and sometimes there's these people who look so tough and they act tough maybe, and sometimes people you think they're acting tough, but that's just how they act. They're actually really nice people. So go and introduce yourself. Also partnering up. Some teachers they want you to rotate around, and some teachers, they don't mind if you just stick with one person. And so kind of read the room, and if you're used to kind of rotating around but nobody's rotating, stick to the same partner. But if you're looking around, everyone rotates every time, that's okay too. Or if half and half, then do whatever you're comfortable with. So pay attention to that one.
That's a good one. Most of the seminars I've been to tend to rotate as a general rule. Although, say my BJJ ones, I feel like we stuck with the same partner. And like I went to a giant Dan Inosanto seminar twice, and that one we stuck with the same partner because it was like literally a gigantic gym full of people. So
right, yeah,
I would have lost my partner if I had left them.
Right. Read the room. I get it. If you switch partners, you get a different feel. But if you're with the same partner, you're more comfortable. You might learn more stuff too, because you're not like trying to think, wow, this person's tall. How am I going to do this? Or this person's big. How is this going to work on them? So, I think just being at the seminar is the most important thing. So that's just a small detail.
Nice.
I also want everyone to keep in mind, you are responsible for your own safety. So the teacher's not responsible. Your partner, hopefully they're a good partner and they're looking out for your safety. But ultimately, be careful, because I've worked with some really uncoordinated people, and it gets scarier the bigger they are. If they're a big uncoordinated person who's a little bit ambitious, a little bit excited, there could be some danger there. So just pay attention to that. Protect yourself, like they say in combat sports, protect yourself at all times. And what I tell my students is, in God we trust, don't trust your partner.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes people who are newer to seminars feel like they have to go hard to kind of show how strong they are.
Yes.
And it's like no one cares. Like I've never gone with someone and they like hit the pad super hard and I'm like, wow, what a strong man. I'm like, okay, dude, like why don't we take it back a notch here? We're just training.
Right. Right. And so dovetailing off of that, another tip is don't be that person. Don't be that person who resists techniques. There's inevitably one at every seminar who the teacher is showing a technique and you go train and this person is just trying to resist everything. And it's like, well, again, relax, brother. You're in a safe place. No one's going to hurt you, and we're just trying to learn something new here. So just relax, quit resisting the stuff. You've got nothing to prove here.
That's why I like the slow, smooth, fast approach for Tiga tactics. That way, the first time you do it, it's consensual and people know not to resist and kind of just to get the feel for the motions before you start applying a little more resistance and pressure.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing about don't be that person is don't contradict the teacher or challenge to the teacher. Like, I don't think that'll ever work, or what if he does this, or what if he does that, keep that to yourself. Maybe at the end of the session or at the end of the seminar, just say, I have a question about this technique, be respectful.
Yeah.
You see any of that ever, Evan?
Yeah, you definitely see some of that. And I've disagreed with things the instructors have said at the seminar, and it's like, well, I paid to listen to them, and no one paid here to listen to me. So I'll just keep my mouth shut unless it's something that I legitimately think is like very dangerous.
To the participants.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm like, okay, noted.
Sure.
And sometimes, although I disagree with the technique, I want to see where their logic train kind of brought them to that conclusion. So sometimes that just keeping my mouth shut and listening will be like, oh, okay, I see how they came to that. Again, I don't necessarily agree with your conclusion, but I understand your logic. And, that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Right. And one last thing about not being that person is don't ask too many questions at inappropriate times. So read the room and maybe it also depends on the teacher. Some teachers will tell you at the beginning, feel free to ask me anything at any time. That'll give you freedom to do that. But if otherwise, if it's not like really important at that point, like it's something that'll totally clear it up for you because it's totally confusing. You need to ask some more questions. I guess do that. But otherwise, if you have a lot of questions, I would recommend during the break or after the day even.
Yeah, good. Also good tips. The instructors have a schedule they're trying to get through, and if we keep taking side roads here that derail us from the schedule, they might essentially have to rush later parts of the training. So yeah,
Right.
definitely good points there. Mid seminar tips before we do the post, or kind of like halfway between day 1, day 2.
No, all I can say is just be friendly, relax, and enjoy it. Enjoy
Agreed.
your
Yeah.
day there. Enjoy the knowledge you're learning. Enjoy the people there. Just keep it playful.
Yeah. Let's talk about if it's a 2-day seminar, kind of what you do in between day 1 and day 2, and or if it's a 1-day seminar, what do you do afterwards?
Great one. I think we talked about this before, but there's where trying to maximize your experience. Take those notes in between or after is a good time as well too. And also after the seminar, I recommend don't just unless you have to, don't just run out the door at the end of the seminar. Stay behind, hang out. Sometimes there's some after conversations that are very meaningful. In other words, there's some participants that ask questions that maybe I never thought about. And after hearing their questions, like, wow, that's a great question. Let's see how the teacher answers this. So hang out for a little bit. Maybe you'll meet some people as well too. You might make some friends or meet a new group that you can train with or training partners as well too. What do you think about that, Evan?
Yeah, all good advice. I immediately post, I think hanging out for a little bit is always a good idea. Again, exchanging contact information, building relationships. It's going to expose you to other seminars, it's going to expose you to other styles. You get invited to other gyms. I mean, it's just a good networking opportunity. Even if you're antisocial, it's come out of your bubble for a little bit and pretend to be a little more friendly.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. All you do, even if you're shy, like I am, I'm naturally a pretty shy person, but because I love martial arts so much, I seem very much like an extrovert. But outside of my martial arts groups, I'm very quiet. I'm very
yeah.
quiet. So sometimes I'm with a group of people I don't know. I just hang out, smile, nod my head, and just listen. And that's okay too.
Yeah. And then I'd say the big one I do, especially if it's a 2-day seminar or if it's afterwards, I take my short, terrible, choppy notes and I write them out in more depth.
Oh, good one.
Whether that be on my phone in the notes section, or if I think it's really important information, I'll sit down and like actually type it almost like a little more like a report on my computer. So um, yeah, that way that's something I type it out to the point where like I can look at it in the future and be able to understand it, because the shorthand notes I take on my notepad during the seminar are basically complete trash. They're just too shorthand for me to understand them with any amount of space between that. And then on top of that, reviewing the material on your notes, it's another rep. It's another way to build those mirror neurons, because you're like actively thinking about the activity.
Right.
So it creates that beaten path in your brain, and it's going to help you retain that information better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I need to get into the 21st century because I'm still taking notes on notebooks and I'm running out of space. I keep having to get new notebooks, and sometimes I'm worried if there's a fire in the house, I'm going to lose all these notes. I really need to get with it and put these notes on my phone or somewhere where, it won't get lost so easily. So yeah, good point there.
Then if it's a 2-day, just make sure, just like all those tips you gave for pre-seminar on day 1, same thing for day 2: hydration, eating, sleep, etc.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the sleep might be a little hard because I see friends and we're like, oh, let's go hang out. And you start talking and it's already midnight and things like that. So, but yeah, I totally agree with the sleep because I've done it when I was younger, like just hang out with my buddies and we talk into the late hours and inevitably there'd be a 7 a.m. early class or something. And one time, Uncle Bill even did like a 4 a.m. class or something crazy like that. And oh man, that was rough times for that second day.
And another way, if people are looking to kind of really get more reps, another way is you can go back to like podcasts or YouTube channel and consume more of that brand's content, Tiga Tactics, Shivworks, etc. Because you'll now that you've been through the training,
Yes.
when you watch the YouTube stuff or listen to the audio, you'll start picking up on stuff and be like, oh, I remember that from the seminar. Oh, I
Right.
see what that guy's doing. Oh, this is a good thing to note. Let me save this video for future reference. So that's another way to kind of like reinforce those lessons and have another resource to look back on in the future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Any final thoughts, seminars before we close it out?
I've been to dozens and dozens. I don't want to say hundreds, but dozens and dozens of seminars. I love going to seminars. I love participating as both an instructor as well as a participant in seminars. So if you're into martial arts, if you're a nerd, or if you're just into learning something new, jump on those seminars. There's seminars all over the place. You just need to look for it, and it's a totally fun experience.
Agreed. I feel like I found a lot of them through Facebook groups. So
Excellent.
I would also recommend finding some local Facebook groups that are in whatever niche area you're interested in and getting connected there to start filling in your schedule. This will be publishing mid-July. What else? What does Tiga Tactics have coming up?
Oh, mid-July. All right. Let's see here. We have Tiga Tactics July 19th and 20th in San Francisco. So please join us for that one. We're going to cover gun threat, pistol threat defenses, as well as knife defenses as well too. So please join us for that. We also have August 2nd, Dragon Fest. So if you're a martial arts nerd and you're in Southern California, or if you want to fly out, a lot of people do that as well. Come and visit us at our booth. If you're into the 80s and 90s kind of martial arts movies, 2000s, there's plenty of those types of actors and stuntman, stuntwoman there as well too, as different seminars going on all day that Evan mentioned earlier. And then August 16th and 17th will be in New Hampshire and teaching another Tiga Tactics seminar there with Evan as well too.
That's right. Yeah. And if anyone wants, again, we'll drop a bunch of links in the show notes down below. Please check those out. There'll also be links to my book, The Combatives Blueprint, also my book, Run If You Can, Destroy If You Must, and then also some links for ambassadorships for the Takedown Sportswear, which I got some custom shorts from. And then a quick shout out I wanted to give to Tenet Co. Knives. I just finally got some of their products in, some pretty awesome stuff. One of them I got was the Perperis. It's a G10 knife. So it's one of those non-metallic plastic. And this is like, I've owned a couple of non-metallic knives. This is one that is my personal favorite now. The handle's more grippy than other ones I've owned. The price point was lower. It feels better in my hand. When I cap the back on my thumb, it doesn't hurt. So it's a really nice product. If you decide to carry something like G that's made of G10 as a self-defense tool, just make sure you check the laws because sometimes it can be a little bit iffy. But it's super lightweight, so it's nice. Again, as long as it's legal for something like running, as a way to have a self-protection item that's not going to be weighing down your shorts there. So
right, very cool. I do want to give a shout out for Thai Battle Boxing. They dropped over some gear for me at the gym. It's also what our gym uses as well too. Their
nice.
equipment. So I'm trying to get them to sponsor the podcast with Evan and Patrick. So we're still talking about that, but they already dropped some gear for me. It's made in Thailand. It's all leather. It's some solid gear. They gave me thigh pads, belly pad, and those things will last a long time.
Sweet. All right. Again, check the show notes down below, seminars, online courses, etc. And hopefully we'll see you in person at the next seminar and use some of these tips to maximize your experience.
See
Catch
you
you guys
later.
later.